Chapter 160 to 162. Sage dash, what do you mean? Oopsies, I forgot. The whole reason we even bothered becoming allies was to stop Demigra's return, and Ms. Genius over here couldn't do something as simple as remember to inform Cronoa that we already destroyed the time rings. I swear I was teetering on the edge of whether I should kill 21 or not, and I was leaning toward killing her. 21-TCH, of course, I didn't forget, but the moment we destroyed the time rings, we returned back to being enemies, and why would I bother to help my enemies, especially when I figured Tawa was no longer that big of a threat, and don't look at me like that, I know you were thinking the same as me, so don't give me that bullshit. I calmed down while listening to her words because everything she said was correct. I also didn't think Tawa would be that much of a threat anymore without the time rings. Sage dash, anyways, it doesn't matter now, does it? We've managed to keep Demigra sealed within the crack of time, so we didn't entirely fail. Though, apparently, I was wrong about that as well. Cronoa dash, for your information, the crack of time has already been broken. We can't just close it and expect it to return to normal, especially when an incredibly powerful psycho is on the other side trying to escape. Vegeta dash, so we didn't reseal Demigra. Cronoa dash, no. All we've done is bought us some time until he truly breaks out, and with how much power I sensed from him, it won't take long. X Vegeta dash, why not just use your powers to reseal it again? You've done it once before. I don't know if it was just me, but it seemed like every time we opened our mouths Cronoa looked to get angrier and angrier. Cronoa dash, did you not hear what I just said? He's grown in power since the last time I fought him, and to make matters even worse, for me to have been able to seal him, I had to sacrifice most of my power, leaving me just slightly weaker than you guys. X Goku dash, so then, is there any way for us to seal him again, because even with all of us here I don't believe we could stand against that monster. Cronoa dash, if I knew, would I be here talking with you idiots? Goku dash, no need to get angry at us, we're all in this together. Cronoa dash, yes, that is my fault, I apologize, but still, I don't know of any way to defeat or seal Demigra. If I was at my peak, it would still be possible for me to seal him, though, never mind, it's useless to think about what ifs. I was about to say something, but out of nowhere I heard a familiar voice sounding out from behind us, prompting all of us to turn around in surprise. Beerus dash, ugh, so Demigra has really managed to break out of the seal you placed on him, Cronoa? Cronoa dash, it's been a while, Beerus, and unfortunately you're right, someone somehow sneaked directly to where the crack of time was located and managed to break the seal. Now it's only a matter of time before he breaks free. Goku dash, yo, Beerus, what are you doing here? Vegeta dash, yeah, it's quite surprising to see you somewhere other than Earth or your planet. Beerus dash, I would prefer to be on Earth eating some delicious food, but ever since Sage informed me of the possibility of Demigra escaping, I've always been prepared for this day to come, and sadly it's here. After saying that, Beerus walked past all of us and stopped in front of the long thin crack in the air before eventually turning to face us after some time, and commented on there being two Kakarotes and Vegetas. Beerus dash, you two must be the counterparts of Goku and Vegeta from Sage's timeline. You're both quite powerful for having no god ki. I guess that just means even if I didn't go to Earth, you two still would have made for powerful opponents. X Goku dash, I've heard that you're incredibly powerful as well. How about having a little fight after this is all over? X Vegeta dash, TCH, if there's a fight, count me in. Beerus dash, sure, why not, but before that, we must deal with Demigra first. Cronoa, how long do you think it'll take for Demigra to escape? Cronoa dash, 2 days if he conserves his energy and takes his time, 1 day if he really wishes to leave, though it's possible for me to delay his arrival, though it'll be by a couple of hours at most since I'm still weak after just having to close the seal once again. Beerus didn't immediately respond to her but instead took some time to think before replying. Beerus dash, open the seal, I'll go inside and fight with Demigra. Cronoa dash, are you sure you want to do that? We still have at least a day before Demigra escapes. Beerus dash, I'm a god, not a mortal. 2 days of training is an utter waste of time for me. Even 2 years of training will have almost no effect on me now, so why bother waiting when I'm already prepared for the fight? Besides, when I use my full power, I'm sure you don't wish for things to happen like last time, though, for a Supreme Kai building a city shouldn't be too difficult. Cronoa dash, fine, just make sure you don't let Demigra's ki exit the crack of time, just a little bit of it could damage the time vault and that's the last thing we want. Cronoa then stood in front of the crack in the air and did some hand signs before finally channeling her special ki to the crack, prompting it to widen, and the moment it does Demigra's powerful ki pours out, instinctively causing all of us to transform and release our full power, though his ki doesn't manage to get far as Beerus flashes in front of the crack and emits his ki, forcing Demigra's ki back into the crack of time. Demigra dash, is that you Beerus? Long time no see, must have been a couple of million years since we last meet. Beerus dash, 75 million years to be exact, but I didn't come here for a chit-chat, I've come here to finish our battle from long ago by killing you. Demigra dash, ha ha ha, 75 million years, such a long time, yet so short as well. However, I welcome you Beerus. I haven't interacted with anyone in a long time, wouldn't mind starting off my return by killing my most dangerous enemy, but do be warned, I haven't been laying around doing nothing. Beerus dash, well then, why don't you let me test your claim then? And before I even knew what was happening, Beerus suddenly flew straight into the crack as he went ahead to fight with Demigra. Sage huh, so I guess this is how Vegeta must feel when he watches Kakarot fight while he's on the sidelines, not a very pleasant feeling, not at all. It hasn't even been a full minute since Beerus left to go and fight against Demigra, yet it feels much longer when you have to rely on one person to defeat Demigra and protect the timelines. After a while of just standing here in silence and looking at the crack in the air, I asked something that's been bugging me ever since Beerus first appeared. Sage dash, Kranoa, will the angels not interfere with Demigra's plan? Kranoa dash, to be honest they should, but even when Demigra Fist attacked the Time Vault 75 million years ago, they never once appeared, only the destroyers helped, so I don't plan on ever taking them into account. Vegeta dash, TCH, that doesn't make any sense, will they not also be erased if Demigra manages to destroy the Time Vault? Kranoa dash, I understand what you mean, but I can't say anything about that, I don't know what's going on in their heads and I'm no angel, we just have to somehow stop Demigra without their help. Sage dash, what about the other destroyers? I know Beerus is the strongest among them, but they should still provide some help. Kranoa dash, some of that knowledge is wrong, Beerus is indeed the strongest destroyer among the 12, but none of them even come close to his full strength, besides, none of them even know about Demigra. Goku dash, is Beerus really that powerful? Kranoa dash, yes he is, now I'm sure you've already figured out that Beerus's age is over 75 million years old, however in actuality, he's been alive for hundreds of millions of years, so not only is he the strongest, but he is also the oldest among them. For a better understanding, the second oldest destroyer is Quitella, and he's only about 3 million years old. What she said surprised all of us, and even though occasionally Beerus would mention his age, I always figured the other destroyers would be similar in age to him, I didn't expect the age difference would be so huge. Goku dash, wait, but what about Kampa, isn't he Beerus's brother? Kranoa dash, brothers? They aren't even from the same universe, let alone brothers, and I have no idea why or when they started calling each other brothers, that's something you should ask Beerus. If he manages to win. And just like that, the room once again returned to silence, all of us just standing around doing nothing while waiting for the fight happening within the crack of time to finish, and for that to happen we had to wait almost half an hour before we finally got any reaction coming from the crack. When we saw the crack in the sky start slowing expanding once again, we all instantly powered back up just in case Beerus lost and we had to fight against Demigra, though if that happened we all know we would be killed. Once the crack was wide open, we suddenly saw a blur come shooting out of the crack before crashing into the ground behind us, however, when we turned around it felt like my worst fear had come to life as the one who had crashed into the ground was Beerus. He was heavily injured and even his tail was cut off, I couldn't sense his ki, but anyone would be able to tell he was nearing death, though what made it even worse was when we heard Demigra's voice sounding much clearer than before. Demigra dash, to be honest, I had thought next time we fought I would completely overpower you, but who knew even after millions of years of training, you would still give me such a difficult time, however, in the end, you still lost to me, a true god. Quickly turning back around, we finally get to witness demon god Demigra, and I must say, just like all enemies, he looks weird, but that's not the point, what really matters is he's managed to beat Beerus. However, just like what he said, Demigra isn't in good condition, he's also heavily injured with blood covering his body, but contrary to Beerus, he still looks like he can fight. Kranoa dash, stop with your foolish dreams of taking the time vault, with us here that's never going to happen. Demigra dash, Kranoa, I must say, you're as beautiful as I remember, but also just as dumb, because do you really believe a bunch of weak mortals has a chance of defeating me? Before any of us could even do anything, I suddenly felt an immense amount of pain in my abdomen and the next thing I knew, I was crashing through building after building, until I smashed into Shenron's face, which managed to stop my momentum. I tried pulling myself out of the hole, but the amount of pain I felt was too much and I fell onto the ground. Eventually, the pain started to subside and I managed to get back on my feet only to see that the entire city had already been destroyed. Sage dash, W what happened? 21 dash, I don't know, but I'm willing to bet that he attacked us, though his attacks are special, as even I felt immense pain from that. Goku dash, not even UI was capable of dodging his attack. Vegeta TCH, we had just gotten back from defeating two powerful people, and now we have to deal with this. Goku same here, we had to deal with the Moro from our universe, and without Grand Supreme Kai's help, we nearly died. Vegeta TSK, this isn't the time to talk about the past, focus, he's approaching. Kranoa this isn't going to end well, is it? Sage not with that attitude. Looking in the direction from where we got sent flying, we see Demigra come flying toward us, before stopping and hovering above us with an arrogant smirk on his face. Demigra I'm surprised you mortals are still alive even after taking my attack. No matter, I'm not interested in fighting you mortals, I have a personal vendetta against Kranoa. He then vanished from his spot, and the moment he did I felt my instincts start blaring, yet I couldn't even start turning around before I felt a powerful force hit the back of my head, then the next thing I saw was blackness. While I was sleeping, I started feeling violent vibrations traveling throughout the ground. Slowly opening my eye in confusion, I see 21 in the process of standing up, and when I do I instantly remember what was going on. Quickly standing up, I look up into the sky and see Demigra fighting against Kranoa and the 11 destroyers. However, that's all I can make out, as they fighting too fast for me to be able to see, except for Kranoa. Sage any idea how long they've been fighting for? 21 no idea, though seeing how they are still capable of putting up a fight with Demigra, I'm assuming it hasn't been too long. Hearing some grunting in the distance, we both look over and see the 4 others waking up as well before eventually standing there while looking up at the battle. Goku we can't even see their movements, let alone help in the battle. Vegeta he was way out of our league anyways, let's just hope they manage to take him down, or maybe injure him enough to where we can defeat him. While we were standing in the distance watching the fight, an explosion suddenly happened followed by someone getting sent crashing into the ground. We couldn't tell who it was, but seeing Kranoa's expression along with the battle still ongoing, we figured it wasn't Demigra like we hoped for. Sadly, we couldn't go and check up on the injured person because they were situated too close to the battlefield. If any one of us got too close, the shockwaves alone would seriously injure us, and even 21 would find it very difficult to keep her body intact if she got too close. So we could only stay far enough away in the distance and watch how Demigra manages to defeat every destroyer one by one until it was only Kranoa left fighting, but calling it a fight now would be me lying, he merely toying with her to satisfy his revenge, and once that's over with he'll just kill her. Vegeta I know Kranoa said the other destroyers were weaker than Beerus, but for them to have been beaten by someone so heavily injured, I never would have imagined the difference in power to be so large. Trunks that doesn't matter father, we have to go and help Kranoa right now. Before Trunks went ahead and rushed into battle only to get himself killed, Vegeta stopped him dead in his tracks by grabbing his shoulder. Vegeta go help her and do what, die? You witnessed the battle that had just transpired, what do you think you will be capable of doing with your measly power? Trunks so then are just going to sit back here and do nothing while we watch Kranoa fight by herself like some cowards. Sage you should calm down Trunks, don't you know who the hell you're talking to? When have any of us ever backed down from a fight even with the odds were massively against us, we always charged forth. Besides, even if we are scared, we don't have a choice but to fight because if Demigra wins, we along with everyone we care for will get erased from reality. My statement did indeed manage to calm Trunks down, though we needed to move things along quickly because Kranoa won't last much longer. Trunks so then, how will we fight against Demigra? How do we win? Vegeta /X Goku Fusion. Vegeta Tisk, why does my Kakarot have to be so stupid? 21 I may not be the most knowledgeable when it comes to fusion, but I'm pretty sure while fusing into Vegito or Gogeta will massively increase your power, I highly doubt it'll be enough to fight against Demigra. It took me a few moments to realize what they were talking about, but I think I figured it out. Sage double fusion. Is that even possible? Goku what's double fusion? Vegeta is it that difficult for you to use your brain? What Sage means by double fusion is that we will first do the Metamorans fusion with our counterparts before using the Pot Era earring. Trunks but, is it possible? And even if it is, the sheer amount of power that being will have would cause the timer to be almost non-existent. Goku theoretically it should work and there's no harm in trying, besides I couldn't come up with any other idea. Vegeta TCH, I hate that stupid fusion dance. Sage well then hurry up and do it, 21, Trunks, and I will go and keep Demigra busy for as long as possible, so you 4 better not fail. With that, I transformed into my second LSSJ form and shot off toward the battle to go help Kranoa with Trunks and 21 following right behind me. Vegeta we need Kranoa's earrings. 21 whelp, while Sage and I keep his attention on us, you go and grab Cronoa's earrings Trunks. Trunks dash, already on it. Once I got close to the battle, I flashed beside Cronoa and blocked one of Demigra's punches for her. However, the force behind that punch was quite powerful, and it almost caused me to collide with Cronoa. When Demigra saw me block his attack, his facial expression was filled with annoyance, and right when he was about to send out another attack, 21 flashed behind him and tried attacking him with a spin kick, though Demigra just casually stopped it with his finger. However, that brought us enough time to get Cronoa farther away from the battle. Cronoa dash, thanks, Sage, though I could have used the help earlier. Sage dash, well, while he was beating you up he seemed to have a smile on his face, so I didn't really think it was a good idea to interrupt his fun. I didn't feel like getting killed before I could do anything. Though we were actually coming up with a plan to defeat him, we don't know if it'll work, but we need your Potara earrings. Trunks will inform you about the details. After that, I flashed away and appeared right beside 21 as we both stared down Demigra while at full power, as we had to take this fight seriously, otherwise we would die without even knowing how. Sage hehe, I'm getting the same feeling from my instincts as when I first encountered Meruz, which means I have no chance of defeating him even when severely injured. Sage dash, so, how are our chances of winning? 21 dash, optimistically, we have zero chance of winning. Realistically, he could kill us whenever he wants to and we won't be able to do anything about it. Sage dash, sounds like a great time, but you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I think that's how the humans say it. Demigra dash, you two are probably the most powerful mortals that have ever lived, but in the end, you are just mere mortals. It won't make a difference to me. However, it's been a long time since I've exercised, so I don't mind entertaining you two for a little bit before I become the only god. Sage dash, ha, what is up with Supreme Kais and their god complex, don't they have anything better to do? 21 dash, hehe, apparently not Cupcake, but at least this one has the power to back it up. Sage dash, I would have preferred if he didn't have that power, then we wouldn't be in this situation. Mentally sighing to myself, I charge right towards Demigra with 21 beside me, while on our way we launch several key blasts at him, and once we arrive near the smoke surrounding him, we both unleash a devastating punch. The impact caused all the smoke to clear, which allowed for the sight of Demigra effortlessly blocking our punches with his staff to be seen by everyone who was still conscious. Demigra dash, hehe, I wonder, how long will you two last?